The limitations that you've encountered in the past will make you the strongest version of you in the future. And I can speak from experience because I've encountered limitations in the past, and I even encounter limitations right now, where I know, knowing what I've had and known from the future, that it's going to make me a more stronger and powerful human being in the future. So I want to bring you guys back to when I was 8 years old, and I went to school in a little village with around 1,000 inhabitants. And my upbringing was very good. I had good parents, all together, a brother, a sister, and around 8 years I was the guy in class. I was always in the popular group, I would say, but I wasn't the first or the most popular one. I was the guy behind the first one or the third one, so I would always be in the top 3. And it didn't matter what it was, school, sports, or like popular wise, and everything was fine and everything was good. And until one day when I was around 8 years old, we had these tests where we had to read a few books or a few pages out of a book, and we had to do it on a timer, and we had to read as fast and correct as possible. And after the test, when I got the results, I couldn't believe the results because I was the slowest one in my class. And for that time, from a little boy from a village with 1,000 inhabitants, a very fluent and nice and perfect upbringing, this was the first time my confidence just completely broke. My confidence was gone because I always was the guy with a six-pack, fit, energized, a great group of friends. And now all of a sudden there was an area in my life where I was just completely lagging, and I basically, or I know it for sure, I felt not good enough. Fast forward, of course, I kept on struggling with reading and I didn't improve, where I saw other classmates improve and read more and get better and better and better. I was just stuck at this level, and you cannot imagine for a little boy how devastating this felt. After a few months or maybe a year, eventually my mother found out that I had dyslexia, which you guys all know what it is. You'll read slower, sometimes you read or see certain things different than everyone else. And you know, it was good for me to give it a place, but still I had to deal with being a slower reader, and it was still something that was required and I needed to deal with because, you know, you need to know how to read, right? And at that moment, it felt horrible. I hated going to school because I didn't even want to show up to school because I had to do things I didn't like. Everyone likes to do things they're very good at, and nobody likes to do things they're not good at. And I had to read all day and get better at reading, and I had extra classes, and you know, eventually I just had so much resistance in myself that I hated school and I hated everything I had to do at school. And a few months or a while later, I even found out that I was colorblind. And for you guys watching now, obviously I can see color, but certain colors and the contrast between the colors for me are sometimes more difficult to see. And you know, the colorblind wasn't a struggle, but it was just more a struggle to be in school and sometimes see stuff different than other people saw. And I would say, hey, that's gold. And then somebody would say, no, that's green. And I would just be like a little confused, and then I'm like, oh, damn. And it just made me feel like I would miss shots every time. And that just scarred my confidence at that age, right? And it got to a level where I had to deal with the dyslexia, where on a weekly basis, I think I had 1 or 2 or maybe even more appointments with somebody that was trained to help people with dyslexia. So I would literally be there with full resistance because I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to spend time there. I didn't even want to spend time doing the practices because I hate doing all the practices because I hated reading. I just didn't want to have to do anything with it. But of course I had to deal with it. And I remember sitting there crying my eyes out a lot of times, very often, because there was so much resistance, and thinking about my friends that went to join each other to play soccer outside while I was inside reading and doing this thing that I found so dramatically stupid. And yeah, man, for me that was a very hard time at that age, and I know for sure for my mother as well, because I definitely let everyone know in my surroundings that I hated this. And the moral of the story of this story is that I had so much resistance, and I had a limitation. I wasn't a quick reader. I wasn't able to keep up with the rest of my classmates, and I hated that. But right now, I've of course learned to embrace it, and for now, you know, as my journey continues, it helps me to do stuff like this, to make different decisions than everybody else, because I've already felt thousands of times how it feels to be different than everyone else in the group. I've already felt not good enough. I've already felt like I'm different. And by having that feeling at that time, it felt like a major loss, and that I was 10 steps behind. But right now, it's such a big benefit. And just so to say, normal people cannot gain that skill so fast because they haven't been through it. They haven't been through the pain, or they haven't been through, you know, the self-development that comes with it. So the cool or the valuable thing about this is when your back is against the wall, when you have no freedom to decide, because I didn't decide that I was going to be a slow reader. It just happened, right? I didn't choose it. So when your back is against the wall and you have to perform in those certain situations and figure it out, because, you know, I cannot be 15 years later, or what is it, 14 years later, still crying about that I have dyslexia and I hate reading. You know, you have to figure it out and learn to deal with it and embrace it. But the traits that you have to develop as a person in that time, you still bring them with you. But now I got rid of the resistance that I had. I got rid of all the problems with reading that I had. Of course, I have some little problems, but I can't be bothered. I don't care anymore, right? But the gain is, I know how it feels to be different and make different decisions than everybody else. I know that it doesn't matter what I'm doing, eventually I'll figure it out. I know that in certain areas I'm just mentally more resilient. And if I look back on that situation and a few more situations, I wouldn't change anything. Because probably if the dyslexia thing wouldn't happen, I probably wouldn't be the person I am right now. I probably wouldn't even be sitting in front of this video, and I wouldn't probably even be in Spain, here sitting in the country where I wanted to be, you know? So it got me pain, but pain got me where I am right now, and it got me my dream life. Having this happen to me makes me more, it gives me more urgency to create the life that I want to create. It makes me more focused. It makes me more competitive with other people. And those are the gains. So whatever you're going through, it's okay. And know that when the storm is over, the sun will shine. And once the sun is shining, you will enjoy the benefits and be thankful for the decisions that you've made in the past. And that's what you call being proud of yourself. And I would say that happiness comes from being proud of yourself, not being aligned or whatever. No, it's doing difficult things, becoming a more powerful person in doing that difficult thing, struggling, not getting it for free, not getting it handed out, but overcoming roadblocks, overcoming difficulties, grow as a person, even already get dopamine from the growth, because that's at the level where I am right now. But then look back on all the difficult hurdles you've crossed, and then be just thankful and have gratitude for the things you've done and enjoy the moment. That's happiness, truly. At least for men, I know that that's the way. I think girls and ladies are a little bit different wired, but still to a certain level as well. So the takeaway of this video is, whatever you're going through right now, or maybe you've been through difficult things in your past, maybe something in your upbringing, maybe some family members, maybe your parents weren't together, you can decide to look at those situations as a disconvenience and as a loss. And that's okay. But if you don't decide to take that loss or disconvenience and flip it over to a big W and a big win, where you have something that other people don't have, you'll stay a loser, or at least stay in this first mindset of having an inconvenience, having a disconvenience, and having less than everybody else. So every difficulty that's on your way, on your road, is a gift for you to become a more powerful human being and get something that other people don't have or don't get.